Before we dive, and I'd like to remind you to hit the subscribe button. James Carter stared at his computer screen, his pulse quickening as he reviewed the atmospheric data. Among the usual patterns and known elements, an unusual spike stood out. An element he had never seen before, one that shouldn't exist on Earth, had appeared in the latest readings. James was a British environmental scientist dedicated to combating climate change. His daily routine at the Environmental Research Centre in London involved analyzing vast amounts of data and making sense of complex patterns. Today, however, was different. The anomaly wasn't just a statistical blip. It was something far more significant. "Elizabeth, you need to see this," James called out, his voice tinged with urgency. Dr. Elizabeth Wright, a renowned astrophysicist, looked up from her workstation across the lab. With her sharp eyes and quick mind, Elizabeth was the perfect person to consult about this unexpected discovery. She walked over, her curiosity piqued. "What have you found, James?" she asked, peering over his shoulder at the screen. "Look at this," he pointed to the anomaly. "This spike shouldn't be here. It's an unknown element." Elizabeth's eyes widened. "This is remarkable. We need to investigate further. It could be anything, even extraterrestrial." James raised an eyebrow.
Extraterrestrial?
"You really think so?" Elizabeth nodded. "It's a possibility we can't ignore. Let's set up more advanced equipment to monitor this." Over the next few days, James and Elizabeth worked tirelessly, calibrating their instruments and analyzing the data. The anomaly persisted, becoming even more pronounced. It seemed to pulse with a rhythm, almost as if it were communicating. "James, these signals aren't random," Elizabeth said one evening, her face illuminated by the glow of the computer screen. "They form a pattern. It's like a message." James frowned. "A message from whom? Or what?" Elizabeth added. "We need to decode this." They spent hours decoding the signals, their excitement growing with each breakthrough. The message slowly revealed itself, and what they discovered sent chills down their spines. It was an alien probe analyzing Earth's atmosphere, and its readings were being transmitted back to its origin. "We need to inform the authorities," James said, a sense of urgency overtaking him. "This is beyond us." Elizabeth nodded in agreement. "But we must be cautious. If we reveal this too soon, it could cause widespread panic." They decided to contact a trusted government official, someone who could help manage the situation discreetly. That evening, they arranged a meeting with Agent Marcus Daniels, a liaison to the scientific community. Agent Daniels arrived at the lab the next morning, his demeanor calm but curious. "Dr. Carter, Dr. Wright, I understand you have some critical information?" James took a deep breath. "Yes, Agent Daniels. We believe we've detected an alien probe analyzing our atmosphere." Daniels raised an eyebrow, his expression a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "An alien probe? Can you show me the evidence?" James and Elizabeth presented their findings, explaining the anomaly and the decoded signals. Daniels listened intently, his face growing serious. "This is indeed significant," Daniels said finally. "We need to handle this carefully. I'll inform my superiors, but we must keep this under wraps for now." As they continued their research, James and Elizabeth faced numerous challenges. Skepticism from their peers, bureaucratic obstacles, and the ever-present pressure to maintain secrecy weighed heavily on them. Yet, they persisted, driven by the importance of their discovery. Late one night, as James reviewed the latest data, he received a new message from the probe. His heart raced as he read the ominous words, "We are coming." He called Elizabeth immediately. "Elizabeth, you need to see this. The probe, it's sending us a warning." Elizabeth read the message, her face growing pale. "This changes everything. We need to prepare." The sky above London glowed with an otherworldly light as the alien fleet descended, shimmering discs that cast long shadows across the cityscape. Crowds gathered, their murmurs of awe and fear blending into a single, anxious hum. James Carter stood among them, heart racing, as he clutched his tablet loaded with data streams from their mysterious visitors. Beside him, Dr. Elizabeth Wright adjusted her glasses, her fingers deftly tapping commands into her own device. "They're here," she whispered, her voice steady despite the tension. "We need to establish contact now." James nodded, his mind racing. The probes had warned of this arrival, but seeing the ships in the sky made it real in a way data never could. He pulled out a portable transmitter, a gift from the international scientific community that had united in the face of the unknown. "We need to show them we're ready to talk, not fight," Elizabeth said, her eyes scanning the skies. "Let's hope they're willing to listen." As James activated the transmitter, a beam of light shot into the sky, a signal of peace and cooperation. Moments later, a holographic figure materialized before them, tall and imposing, with a shimmering blue aura. The alien leader, Zorak, surveyed the humans with an expression of mild curiosity. "Humans!" Zorak's voice resonated, echoing through the plaza. "We have observed your planet and found it lacking. Your species is primitive, your environment in decay. Why should we not leave you to your fate?" James felt a surge of defiance. "We are more than what you see," he said, stepping forward. "Give us a chance to prove our worth." Zorak's gaze settled on James, studying him intently. "Prove it then," he said. "You have one day to demonstrate your species' potential." The hologram vanished, leaving James and Elizabeth to face the growing crowd. "We need to gather the team," Elizabeth said, urgency creeping into her voice. "This is our only shot." They hurried to the International Command Center, where scientists and innovators from around the world had convened. The room buzzed with activity as they laid out their plan. They would showcase humanity's advancements in clean energy, sustainable living, and technological innovation. "Let's start with the most critical demonstration," James announced. "Real-time pollution cleanup. If we can show them we're addressing our biggest flaws, it might make a difference." The team worked tirelessly, setting up a makeshift lab near the Thames. They deployed drones equipped with advanced filters and enzyme solutions that began purifying the polluted water. The process was streamed live, with updates fed directly to the alien ships above. As the demonstration progressed, the initial skepticism of the crowd gave way to cautious optimism. People watched in awe as the drones efficiently cleansed the river, turning murky waters clear. Zorak reappeared, his holographic presence towering over the lab. "Impressive," he admitted. "But is it enough?" Elizabeth stepped forward. "We've only just begun. We have more to show." Next, they unveiled a prototype of a sustainable city model, integrating vertical farms, renewable energy sources, and advanced waste management systems. The display highlighted humanity's ingenuity and potential for a harmonious future. Zorak's interest peaked. "Your technology is promising, but technology alone does not define a species. What of your spirit? Your resilience?" James took a deep breath and shared a personal story. He spoke of the time he almost gave up on his research due to funding cuts and lack of support, but how he persevered, driven by the belief that he could make a difference. He recounted how his team, against all odds, had achieved breakthroughs that could save the planet. "We are flawed, yes," James concluded, "but we are also capable of growth, of change. Our resilience is our strength." Zorak was silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. "Very well," he said finally. "You have demonstrated potential. We will not interfere, but we will watch. Prove that your species can overcome its flaws, and perhaps one day, we will meet again under more favorable terms." With that, the alien fleet ascended, disappearing into the stratosphere. The crowd erupted in cheers, relief and hope mingling in their voices. James and Elizabeth exchanged a look of triumph, knowing this was just the beginning of their efforts to prove humanity's worth. Chapter 3. Proving Humanity's Worth. James Carter stood in the makeshift conference room, surrounded by a team of international scientists and innovators. The room buzzed with anticipation as they prepared to present their demonstration to the alien delegation. The air was thick with tension, each individual keenly aware of the stakes. This was humanity's moment to prove its potential, to show that they were not to be dismissed. The presentation began with a series of advanced, sustainable technologies. First, Dr. Elizabeth Wright introduced a groundbreaking energy conversion device. This technology converts environmental pollutants into clean energy, she explained, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The device, compact and efficient, hummed as it transformed a jar of polluted water into pure hydrogen fuel. The alien observers, led by Zorak, watched with inscrutable expressions. Next, Dr. Aman Singh, a bioengineer from India, showcased genetically engineered plants that thrived in polluted environments. These plants can absorb harmful toxins and convert them into harmless byproducts, he said, displaying a small, vibrant green plant that was flourishing in contaminated soil. The aliens exchanged glances, their interest piqued. As the demonstration continued, it became clear that the aliens were initially unimpressed. Their leader, Zorak, remained stoic, his gaze unwavering. James felt a knot of anxiety tighten in his stomach. He knew they needed something more, something that truly highlighted humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Stepping forward, James decided to share a personal story. Several years ago, he began, a catastrophic flood devastated my hometown. We lost everything. But in the aftermath, people came together. We innovated. We rebuilt. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. From that disaster, we developed new flood-resistant structures and early warning systems. Today, those innovations are saving lives around the world. To illustrate his point, James unveiled a model of a flood-resistant house, complete with adaptive technology that responded to rising water levels. The model, though small, was a testament to human ingenuity in the face of natural disasters. This time, he saw a flicker of recognition in Zorak's eyes. Elizabeth, seizing the moment, presented their final innovation, a real-time environmental restoration project. She directed their attention to a live feed from the nearby Thames River. The once polluted waterway had been subjected to their new technology for the past week. As they watched, the murky waters began to clear, fish returning to the rejuvenated ecosystem. The room held its breath as the transformation unfolded. Zorak finally spoke, his voice resonant. Impressive, he said, but technology alone does not define a species. Show me your spirit. James knew this was the critical moment. He stepped forward, his voice filled with conviction. Our spirit is defined by our actions, our willingness to sacrifice for the greater good. He gestured to his team. We come from different nations, different backgrounds, but we are united by a common purpose, to protect our planet and ensure a future for our children. He paused, then continued. Elizabeth here gave up a lucrative career to pursue this research. Dr. Singh works tirelessly in some of the most hazardous conditions on Earth. Each of us has faced challenges, but we persist because we believe in our collective potential. Zorak studied them, his alien features inscrutable. Humans have long shown a capacity for destruction, he said. Yet, what I see here is different. Perhaps you are capable of more than we assumed. He turned to his delegation, exchanging a series of clicks and whirs that constituted their language. After a moment, he addressed James and his team. We will monitor your progress. Should you prove capable of sustaining this path, further cooperation may be considered. Relief washed over the room, but James knew this was only the beginning. The aliens had given them a chance, and now it was up to humanity to rise to the occasion. As the aliens prepared to depart, Zorak approached James. Your resilience is noted, he said. But remember, this is not merely about survival. It is about thriving in harmony with your world. James nodded, understanding the gravity of the task ahead. We won't disappoint you, he promised. James Carter stood on the observation deck of the research center, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The alien fleet had departed, leaving behind a world united in purpose. Beside him, Dr. Elizabeth Wright watched the sun rise over the transformed landscape, her expression a mixture of hope and determination. The departure of the alien fleet had ignited a global movement. Nations, corporations, and citizens collaborated to address the environmental crises that had once seemed insurmountable. Policies were enacted, technologies were adopted, and the collective will to restore Earth gained unprecedented momentum. Innovations emerged at a remarkable pace. James and his team were at the forefront, developing technologies that converted pollutants into energy, revolutionizing the way humanity interacted with its environment. Rivers that had been lifeless now teemed with life, and cities were powered by renewable resources, reflecting the ingenuity of their inhabitants. James reflected on his journey from a frustrated scientist to a leader of a global initiative. The challenges had been immense, but they had brought out the best in him and those around him. Elizabeth had been a constant source of inspiration, pushing him to explore new frontiers and embrace the unknown. Their partnership had become a symbol of what could be achieved through collaboration and shared vision. The knowledge that advanced civilizations were observing Earth motivated humanity to strive for excellence. The occasional guidance and resources provided by the aliens were invaluable, but it was the desire to prove their worth that drove people forward. Each breakthrough was a step towards ensuring Earth's place in the greater cosmic community. Hope for the future asterisk. The story of Earth's transformation spread across the galaxy, inspiring other worlds facing similar challenges. The collaborative effort to restore the environment demonstrated the power of unity and innovation. This newfound sense of purpose and direction was the true legacy of the alien encounter. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the landscape, James and Elizabeth stood side by side. Wind turbines dotted the horizon, and solar panels glinted in the fading light, symbols of the progress humanity had made. "Do you think they'll return?" James asked, breaking the silence. Elizabeth smiled. "I believe they're watching, waiting to see what we do next." The final days of the alien presence had showcased humanity at its finest. People had come together, not out of fear, but from a desire to demonstrate their potential. This drive had sparked a global movement, one that continued to grow stronger with each passing day. An urgent message flashed on the communication screen, indicating a new anomaly in the atmosphere. James and Elizabeth exchanged a glance, their expressions resolute. "Ready for another challenge?" James asked, his tone light but serious. Elizabeth nodded. "Always."